The teams are in. Let's talk about them. So both Collingwood and Essendon have made 3 changes each to the teams that take on each other on Friday night. And there are a couple of handy ins for us especially. So obviously that's who we'll talk about first. And there's a couple of, how's it going? A little bit, I think, for Essendon. But let's talk about Collingwood's ins and outs. Coming out of the team, we have Bo McCreary. So Bo comes out of the team with that calf. That's a 6-week injury. We get him back for finals. Yeah, that's unfortunate, man. Like, so one player that you don't want to go out, especially when, you know, you haven't got that bull in like Tom Mitchell to do all the tackling and stuff. And Bo does really help out that sort of pressure and that perceived pressure. So he's a huge out, and I know he doesn't get like a lot of disposals or kick a lot of goals or anything like that, but his work in and around the ground is going to be, it goes unnoticed, but it's going to be noticed when we don't have him anymore. So that's a huge out. So that's a forced out. The other forced out is John Noble with a concussion, but he'll be back next week. He suffered that concussion, obviously, in the Gold Coast game. It looked innocuous, if you saw it on my Instagram Reels, or TikTok Reels, wherever I bloody posted that thing. But it looked innocuous, but, you know, concussion protocols, from Jared Wade's report, he's all good to go. He only experienced them for, like, the day of, or I think the next day, but it's still a protocol, so he has to miss this week's game, goes into next week's game. And the third out is Lockie Sullivan, who gets omitted, dropped, whatever you want to call it, managed. It says omitted, but I think it's more managed. I know Lockie Sullivan didn't have a big game last week. I felt like he was played a bit out of position as well. One, he absolutely deserves this break right now because he has just been going ham since the Carlton game. Like, when you think of Lockie Sullivan coming in for that Carlton game, it was because we had no Jordan to go, we had no Tom Mitchell, comes on as a sub, and coincidentally for a Bo McCreary injury as well, he comes on. So, comes on, he and I and probably everyone didn't expect him to play, 7 or 8 games straight, especially going from the VFL, jumping straight into the AFL and being put right into the middle against these big-bodied midfielders, and he really held his own, and I'm so bloody proud of him because his story is so unique, you know, mid-range age and stuff like that, or mature age, sorry, is the word I'm looking for. And his story is so unique, and I'm so happy for him. He goes, he'll play, I dare say he plies his trade in the VFL this week. So that'll be good to see. I think we're versing the Dolphins, I think. So that'll be good to see, and just get a bit of rhythm into him because he has had a low couple of games, gets a bit more rhythm into him in the VFL, then comes into the AFL team if we need him. So I'm happy about that out because you can tell that he's sort of non-AFL body was getting a bit weary. So I'm stoked that he was able to do what he could do in that chunk of time, and yeah, goes back to the AFL and gets that form back. So coming into the team, Ned Long for his club debut. He's our 9th club debutant this season. So we've had 6 regular debutants and then 3 club debutants, and Ned Long will be that 3rd. So Ned Long was picked up in the mid-season draft about 30 days or so ago. It was only about maybe a month and a half ago, if that. He was out with 2 weeks with a calf injury. He is a bull in the Collingwood's VFL side. So the first VFL game that he played, he had 17 VFL tackles against Sandy. He's averaging 22 disposals and 9 tackles per game. So even though Bo comes out of the side as that tackler, that bull machine, Ned Long seems to be a perfect fit. And the thing with Ned Long is he's 194 centimeters or something like that. So this guy's tall, man. He's a tall midfielder. And if we need him to, he can play in the back line. He can play in the forward line. They were trialling him a lot in the VFL in sort of different positions. His main position is that midfield. So with Lockie Sullivan coming, Lockie Sullivan coming out. I was about to say Lockie SCHULTZ. Sullivan coming out, Bo McCreary coming out. Ned Long seems to be that guy that goes in. We'll look about who the sub might be a little bit later. But that's huge props to Ned Long after getting delisted by the Hawks, trialling out for us, and then getting done in the mid-season draft, or picked up in the mid-season draft from us. That's absolutely huge. Other 2 guys that come in is Lockie SCHULTZ after that gastro bout. We missed Lockie last week. We missed that pressure in that forward line. The ball was getting in there and coming out too easily. Bobby Hill didn't have any help. He tried to do it all. He just couldn't. And Lockie SCHULTZ's pressure and tackling and goal sense was something that, yeah, we definitely missed last week. and he's had a good season since that suspension against Carlton. So he is going to be the ace up our sleeve against Essendon. I really do believe that. I think he probably kicks 2 or 3 goals because when Lockie is on, Lockie is absolutely on. And the last guy coming in is Charlie Dean. Now, we talked about that in that Darcy Moore video that we need a Nathan Murphy type, and Charlie Dean is that player who can just let Darcy Moore be a little bit more free. Now we'll probably get a backline of Frampton, Moore, Howe, Maynard, Dean, Markov will be in there, Isaac Quainer will be in there. So I want to see how our backline does function with Frampton, Dean, Howe, and Moore, and see if it gives Moore, that sort of ability to do what he does best, breaking lines, rebounding from 50, because that's just not what he's doing. He is spoiling a little bit more. He's not taking marks like he used to. He's worried too much in his head, it looks like. So hopefully the inclusion of Dean eases that pressure off him to do what Darcy Moore does best, and we're really going to need it against the Bombers. And just quickly with the Bombers ins and outs, the Bombers recall Dylan Shield, who's come back from an injury, who smashed in the VFL last week. Jake Kelly, their backman. Nate Caddy. So they're going to go pretty tall in that forward line. They've obviously got Peter Wright. Draper goes down there that we know. Nate Caddy will obviously go down there. And, Stringer is just so important and crucial to their team that someone has to put the absolute clamps on him, or we're going to get dumped by him. Going out of the team is Dyson Heppel, who's been managed after his 250th game. Todd Goldstein managed, so they went with a 2 ruckman setup last week, and I don't know if it didn't work or they just want to manage that tool to bring in Nate Caddy, but Goldstein comes out, so Draper will be doing the ruck pretty much all by himself with Peter Wright helping out, and Menzies gets omitted as well. So, yeah, they managed a couple of veterans because of that tired body, brought in a couple of good players, so I think the ins and outs kind of even themselves out. So just before we leave, looking at our sub and who it can be, is obviously someone from the interchange bench. So it's either Kruger, Crisp, Will Hoskin-Elliott, Ned Long, Harvey Harrison. Based on everything that we know, I think it'll be out of Harvey Harrison, Ned Long. I would hate, again, I say this all the time, but I would hate for a debutant, even if it is just a couple of debutant, to be the sub. But he could be a game changer, 194 centimeters, quick, can tackle, but do they want that pressure from the start? I think it's going to be Harvey Harrison. He could be that playmaker that we need, kind of like a Ginnivan sort of type. We've seen it a couple of times this year where he's just sort of pops up, either from coming on as a sub or just in general, sort of pops up, can take a good overhead mark, backs himself in, can kick a goal. So I think Harvey might be the sub, might be the X factor that we need. But if they're going for who can cover someone the most across the ground, it would be Ned Long, because you can't chuck him in the back line, like I said earlier, forward line or into the middle. But anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts down below. How do you find this team? How do you see us going tomorrow? Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, and until next time, double shackers, I'll soup you later. I'm going to change it. I think it's going to be Harvey Harrison. excuse me. So both the Pies and Essendon. I think it's going to be Harvey Harrison, really, because Harvey Harrison can be that sort of playmaker that we sort of need. That Ginnivan. Oh my god.